All right, geometry benchmark 5.3. We're going to work with the law of sines and the law of cosines. You might want to write these formulas down if you don't know them. The law of sines is the sine of an angle. I'll just say A over the side opposite equals the sine of another angle in the triangle over the side opposite that. We're going to use that for the first problem. So if I'm looking at this first problem, I notice there's two angles that they give us. Notice in the second two problems, they only give us one angle each. One's an unknown angle, x, and the other one is 29 degrees. They do not give us two angles. Now, when they give us two angles, we're going to use the law of sines. And notice these are not right triangles, too. So that's why we're kind of forced to use one of these two laws. Now, typically in a law of sine problem, you want an angle in the side opposite, so like these two, and another angle in the side opposite that. Well, we don't care about this side, and they gave us the opposite angle from that. We do care about the x, and we need to know that angle that's opposite it. Well, because it gave us two angles, we can just do 180 minus 25 and 33. Oops, 33. What is that, 122? So we can use that 122 degree angle, put that right in there, and then we can do the problem like we want to do it. So let me erase this mess. Erase the law of sine formula, so make sure you have that written down. So if this is 122 degrees, I can use that in the side opposite, and I can use the 25 in the side opposite that. I don't care about the 33 anymore. So here we go. Sine of 25, let's say, over the side opposite equals sine of another angle, 122 in this case, over the side opposite that. And that happens to be x. Now to solve this, we're just going to... Okay, I just had an interruption on the announcements. To solve this, we're just going to cross multiply. So I'm going to take my sine of 122 times 14 and basically divide by the sine of 25. So if you want to write the whole thing out, it's going to look like, which I wouldn't do, 14 sine of 122 equals x times the sine of 25. Okay. To solve this, now this is some crazy number over here, some decimal. Then I'm going to divide by the sine of 25 at the end. So that's why, shortcut wise, it just makes more sense to do 14 times 122 and then divide by the last number that's left over, the sine of 25. So type that in your calculator just as you see it. 14 sine 122. Please make sure you hit equals right here. It can't hurt. And divide by the sine of 25, and you should get 28.1 approximately. And then there should be units here, but just put units. Okay, I'm rounding that to the nearest tenth. Now the next two problems are the law of cosine problems. I'm going to erase this. I'll erase kind of that mess there. The law of cosines looks like this, so write this down because I'm probably going to erase it at some point. X squared is what we call the two sides next to it, like the 7 and the 12. Well, I guess formula-wise, I'll write c squared there. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2 times a times b times the cosine of the angle that's across from that c squared, so cosine of c. Maybe I'll group it like that. So have that written down, and I'll show you how it translates with numbers we have. All right. Now, how do you decide which is c? Well, whatever angle you're talking about, in that case it's the x, that's our c. In this case over here, the 29, that's our c. So this is our c squared. That x right there is our c, our little c. We're going to square that. In fact, let's do number 3 first because it's going to be easier because we know the angle. Number 2 here has an unknown angle. I'll do that last. So back to number 3, I'll do x squared equals the a and the b are the two sides next to the angles, next to the angle that we're talking about. Kind of like in the Pythagorean theorem, if that 29 degrees were a right angle, the 12 and the 16 would be like the two legs. I kind of visualize it that way in my head. So I'll say 12 squared plus 16 squared. Kind of looks like the Pythagorean theorem right there. minus 2 times a times b, so 2 times 12 times 16, times the cosine of the angle, 29. Now, the way this is all set up, you don't know the x over here. All of this, all that is numbers. So just type it all in your calculator as you see it. 12 squared plus 16 squared, and go ahead and try this at home. Type it all in and see if you get the same answer I do. All of that stuff on the right side should be about 64. Keep going on. And then leave that in your calculator, don't round it, and just take the square root of the answer. So you hit that square root key, whatever it is on your calculator, and then of answer. Typically the answer is down on the bottom of your calculator. On the graphing calculator, it's the negative sign next to the equal sign or next to the enter sign. So I'd hit second negative, which is answer. So when you take the square root of that, it turns out to be right around 8. That's 8.000, like 00 something. So round it. If you do round it to the nearest tenth, put that 0 in. Don't just put 8. Put 8.0. So hopefully you got that answer. And I'm going to erase it here, so pause it if you don't want it to be erased. Now I'm going to go back to number 2. Law of cosines again, because I just have one angle that's being marked. So I know it's going to be law of cosines. So I'm going to do the side opposite is that little c. This is kind of like a, b, and c. So I'm going to do the c squared. So 17 squared equals the other. It doesn't matter which is a and b. So 7 squared, 12 squared. Minus 2 times 12 times 7, or 7 times 12, doesn't really matter. There's cosine of the angle. Well, the angle in this case is unknown. Now this is a little more challenging to solve because the unknown is on the same side as all that messy stuff on the right side. So what we're going to have to do here is kind of group this together, make that a number. Take these two numbers, if you want to make them 49 and 144, you can, and subtract them and bring them over to this side. Okay, I'm just going to type in my calculator 17 squared minus 7 squared minus 12 squared. Okay, you can do those in your head, but sometimes you're not going to be able to do those in your head. So on that left side, you're going to get a 96. Okay, and then on the right side, combine those again, like I mentioned. And what is that, 408, I believe? And it's going to be negative. Let me say, yep, one negative in there. So negative 408 cosine of x. So you have to put a little more work into this problem. So simplify the parts that you can. Bring over the 7 squared, bring over the 12 squared. Now at this point, this is a multiplication problem. So don't add 408 or something. You're going to divide. So divide by negative 408. We get some crazy decimal. Leave that decimal in your calculator and hit second cosine, which that'll pop up on your calculator, arc cosine or arc, inverse cosine. And then you want to type in this 96 divided by negative 408. Well, that decimal should already be in your calculator. So you just type in your answer, your ANS key again. So second negative sign or wherever your answer key is. And hopefully you'll end up with 103.6 degrees. And don't forget your units. In this case, it's degrees. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. If you still have questions, stop on in and ask me, and I can help you out.